Hi guys, welcome to the InfoGiants Tech Show. I'm Kapil, and today we will be talking about the PHP unit. PHP unit is a testing framework which is available for PHP programming language. So today we will be discussing how we can perform functional unit test case for our classes or our code base. So without wasting time, let's get started. And if you want to download the source code of the demo, it is attached in the description. There is a link that from there you can download, and for more tutorials you can always visit our website, which is also mentioned the link of the website in the description of the video. So let's get started to the PHP unit. So for I'm testing it, I'm using a virtualbox setup. There I have a Ubuntu machine and LAMP setup, Linux, MySQL, PHP and all. So let's get started. In my Linux, this is the source code that I have already attached in the video description. We'll go through this as well. So for PHP unit, as you can see, the website is phpunit.de. You can also visit this website and see the documentation and all this stuff. In the documentation, you will find that there are multiple assertions available that you can also take a look. Like what exactly we do in PHP unit for the functional test cases is we check the output of a function, if it is a true, if it is a false, if it is in the array, or the output is instance of any class, etc. So you can go through the documentation. You will directly move through the code base and understand how we can write the PHP unit. So before installing PHP unit, there are some prerequisites or prerequisites. For example, when you go to the take the first step, either you can download it using far file or composer. I prefer using composer. We are test I mean our code is using the composer. So you can prefer, it is up to you, either you can use the archive file or you can use the composer, but composer is a recommended way. So if there is any update, you can run the composer update command to get the latest file of the PHP unit as well. So let's move to our code. So I have this PHP unit folder that I have shared in the video description. Inside this folder, you will see we have composer.json file. So inside this file, I mean, we have included PHP unit as a dependency, and we have also written a syntax autoload psr4. So using this required dev command, the PHP unit will be installed when we run composer install, and we install the latest 9 version. And autoload is for generating the autoloader for our classes, whatever code we have inside the src, so we can access the code using the namespace, uh, because using the namespace is better than using require and include in the php. So that is for autoloading the classes. So keep it is similar to what we have. Another thing is we have php unit.xml file. So this is default configuration file for PHP. Inside we have defined that coverage. Coverage node means that it will generate a report of our unit test cases, and it will show that if we have 2 3 classes or 4 classes, then how many methods we have covered, or how many functions we have covered in our unit tests. So inside that it will include, in the src folder it will include all the php files. It will exclude the vendor folder. Vendor folder is generated by composer when you run composer install. Then we have defined the test suites. So test suites are, you can say, we can group the number of tests inside a group. or inside a test suite. So I have just defined one test suite, and that is inside all the file. It will take inside all file inside the src directory. Some few other settings are like time zone and xdebug. So these are the generic setting. Xdebug is one important thing that we need to install in the system, because for the coverage, code coverage, Xdebug will be required. So for installing Xdebug, you can visit the website Xdebug. There, if you have Ubuntu, you can directly type the command apt install php xdebug, and it will install the Xdebug in the system. After installing, you need to make few changes. For example, you need to check which version you are PHP running. Like I have a PHP 8.0 version. So then you need to go to cd etc php and your version, then Apache 2. There you will find php.ini file. You need to edit that, shift and down button, and you need to add this xdebug mode coverage. So we need to configure this, then only it will generate the code coverage when we run the PHP unit test cases. So you need to do this in Apache 2 configuration file as well. And one directory back there is a CLI folder. Inside that you will also need to do the same. So we have added xdebug dot mode equal to coverage, or we can write it capital xdebug underscore capital mode equal to coverage as well. So that is the one thing we need to do. After that, you can save this WQ column, and you can restart the Apache. That is all you need to do. One another thing is you need to install the uh, XML. That means control alt apt. You need to install the PHP XML. You need to install the PHP XML package as well, because it is also required. It has some DOM package in the PHP that is also required for running the PHP unit. So you can install it like sudo apt get install PHP. Uh, Let me show you the command exactly. It is like this. I have version 8, so you can define the version of PHP here and the XML. So it will install the DOM package for the PHP that is required by PHP. So these are the three things: Xdebug that you need to install and configure. Then you need to install the PHP XML package that will include the PHP DOM package as well. After doing this, you need to restart the Apache, and then we can go to the our PHP directory. Okay, and let's check other files. So this is about PHP.NET XML. It is a configuration file for executing the PHP.NET Composer file we have already checked about. Then in SRC we have a math module, for example. Inside that we have a class. So in this class we have couple of methods. So we have defined the namespace, since we have defined the using the PSR4 standard in the composer file, so we can use the namespaces. And we are also using composer, so it will generate the auto load. So we have defined the namespace. Then this is our class math, and inside that we have four functions. One function is for addition, which is taking two arguments and returning the addition of that. Subtraction, which is doing the subtraction part. Multiplication is multiplying the two numbers, and the division we have handled the condition divide by 0. In that case it returns false. So this is the very basic class of the PHP, and for this we will be executing the unit test cases for all of these four methods with different data sets. For example, for addition we will be providing number 1 and number 2, different values for the number 1 and number 2, and we are also validating that the return of this function is the correct. So we can do that in the test. So let's move the test file. So inside the test folder we have organized the test of this class, And there is a notation for writing the test class name. If your class name is math or anything, write the name of the class. After that you can write the test.php. So it would be math test.php. Inside this class, we need to extend it with the test class. So test class namespace is PHP unit framework and test case. It is, you need to do that if you are writing the test case. After that, we create a object, a property. This object will contain the actual math class object. For that, we have created this object. You can name it whatever you want. I have named it object. After that, there are two functions that are required in the PHP unit. One is setup function. In the setup function, we set up uh, all the properties that are required for testing. For example, we need to get the object of actual class. So for in the object, we have defined the new math. So math is the namespace and math is the class name. So we have the object of the actual class or original class in the object. Parent.setup is the standard way of calling the constructor. Since we are extending the text class, so we are calling this class setup. So, and one another thing is in new PHP unit version 9, you have to define the return type as well. So in the setup function, you have to define it returns void. So just keep it as it is, or it won't work if you are working with PHP unit 9. So this is about setup function. Then move to the last of the class, and you will see one more function which is teardown. Both these functions are I think protected. Let me check again. Yes. So the teardown function is kind of destructor in a class. In this function, it also has the return type void. In this function, we free the object whatever we have assigned or created in the constructor or setup function. So we have setting the this dot object null here and parent tear down. Sequence could be like we can write the tear down up and the object below of this. You can do whatever sequence you would like to do. Ideally, the parent tear down should be called first. Then moving to our test cases. So test case, let's start with the addition one. So this is the test method for testing the method from the math.php file. Let me open both of these files for the, yeah. So in math.add you can see we have two argument returning the addition of this. So in math add test or so method name could be anything, but it is ideal to keep the equivalent name for easy understanding. So I have written it test method add. It is in camel case. So after that we have parameter number 1, number 2, and third parameter we have provided, which will be the expected result. Whatever we will provide in the number 1, number 2, the addition will be the expected result. So argument we can also change in the test file or test method for just validating. Then we have some annotations like covers. So covers annotation define that this function is covering the actual math class method function. The data provider is another property or notation in the PHP unit that you can use with the functional test cases. Like there is some manipulation, addition, deletion, multiplication, date manipulation, string manipulation. So data provider function name could be anything. I have kept the name similar to this math at data provider. Then return boolean. So what this data provider function is doing, you can check this. It is providing us a set of data. For example, it is providing us array, which array contain three sub array. So with all these data, our function test method will be tested automatically when we run PHP unit. So this metadata provider will provide the number 1 value 2, number 2 value 3, and expected result will be 5, which is correct. So it will be testing with 2 and 3 and comparing the addition with the expected, which is 5, and it will be asserting if assert equals is PHP unit property that you can find inside the documentation. There are lots of assertion available. So assert equals takes two argument. First is what is expected, and second is the actual function call. So expected result would be, as you can see, would be 5, and in the method function we will be passing 2 and 3. So addition of 2 and 3 will return, original function will return 5, and it will be matched with the 5 which is expected. So both these value will be equal, and assert equal will return true. So our unit test case will pass. Similarly, we have a few other things, few other data like 7, 5, 12, 4 minus 3, 1. So it will test this method with all of this data automatically. Using this annotation, it picks the data from this method. This is for the addition method. Similarly, we have for the subtraction data provider, and multiplication data provider, and for division data provider. For the division, we also tested the divide by 0, as you can see, and expected is false, since in the division file we have handled the scenario divide by 0. Yes, you can see, if number 2 is 0, then we return false. So in this case, number 2 is 0 and expected result will be false. So this is pretty much about the how we can provide the data provider in a function, and how we can test this. So let's execute the PHP unit. But before that, let's set up our project. So first we need to run composer install. It will install all the dependencies which are required. The dependencies are defined in the composer file, which you can see. PHP unit already on, only thing we need, and the auto load. So it will install the PHP unit, and PHP unit dependencies, whatever dependencies PHP unit will require. It will take a few minutes based on the speed of our system, or the how fast it can find the dependencies. This is about the basic functional PHP unit test case in this video session. We will be discussing more about the PHP unit, that how actually we can use with the advanced uses of the PHP unit using mocking and all. That requires some understanding of the basic things first. So let's continue with this right now, and in the upcoming videos I will be creating a more advanced series, or the next video for the PHP unit. In that we will cover how we can use mocking and all. We are getting some error. Let's see what are the errors are. We're getting some error. Let's check what is the error. Error must judgment and properties composer default policy. Let's check with this error. This looks like some issue with the PHP 8 version, and there is also some solution since it is closed. So let's see what is the solution that we get here. Let's fix this. It looks like some composer issue or PHP issue. I don't know what is the exact issue. So we can fix this inside this file default policy. So let's update the file and let's continue with this. So we will come on. It is a little bit laggy right now. So still we can do that. Yeah, user share PHP dependency reservoir default policy .php, and inside this file we need to fix it in 84 lines selected equal to array values. Okay, let's go to the actual code. 84 line, I cannot see the line number here, but let's see. Selected, there will be some selected variable. Yes, inside this line we need to convert it array values. Alright, uh, let's restart the Apache again. Let's switch to the sudo user. Okay, and again run the PHP unit and let's see how it goes. Okay, so we were running the composer install. We'll execute again and we will see how it is. Alright, it's kind of working. So it might be issue with PHP 8 or might be with composer. As you can see, property support named argument portal error. So looks like with PHP 8 and composer it is having some issues. So we can you can go through this. I mean, you can search out this the error you get and you will find the solution here. I have applied the same here as you can see, and our composer installing the PHP unit and all the dependencies file. After that we need to run composer dump autoload. It is a optional step. It will generate the autoload file, the namespace autoloader. After that we have a command for running the PHP unit. So for command you can go through the readme file. I have written down the step composer install, composer dump autoload. It could be dump autoload or it could be dump hyphen autoload. Then this is the command for executing PHP unit. So I'm copying this command and you can check vendor bin PHP unit. You can check the version. It is a 9.5 version. So I have written this vendor bin PHP unit. Then hyphen C is the argument like a configuration file. The next is the name of the configuration file, which is phpunit.xml. After that I have added a flag debug. So debug will just list down all the methods which will be executed. Then I have provided the source folder and a test folder. So it will be the path of the test folder. There all the test files are present. After that, coverage HTML, I need a HTML report of code coverage, and I have defined the directory inside the coverage will be generated. So a build folder will be generated inside that coverage report. Now when I execute this, as you can see, there are multiple test cases are executed. For example, the test math add function uh, has been executed 3 times, as you can see, with dataset 235 started and ended, with dataset 7512 started ended, 4 minus 31 started ended. So it tested, the PHP tested this method with the 3 different datasets that we have provided in data provider. Similarly, for subtraction, as you can see, multiplication and division, it tested all these methods with all the dataset or data providers we have defined in the function. So total we have 12 tests and 12 assertions. And after that, it has generated some code coverage report, which is in HTML format. So we can go through the directory, which is PHP. Inside this, build XML is generated. When we run composer install, a composer log file is generated and a vendor folder is generated. So inside vendor it install the dependency, and the log file it gives the signature what has been installed using composer. So in the build folder, as you can see, code coverage report, and there is index.html that we can open, or might be I have already opened. Yes, so I can refresh this one. So as you can see, it has listed the files that we have in src folder. In math folder, we care about, like, we had a class math.php. For this we have done the unit test. So as you can see, there are 4 methods. All of these methods have been covered. These has been tested. So yes, as you can see, method, math subtraction. So we tend to keep our code coverage more than 80-90%, and for this file we have achieved it 100%. So this is the way we can generate the reports after executing PHP and see how much our code is covered with the unit testing and all. And in the test you can also see what are the functions executed. So in test file, this loading. The test file also, all the methods, test methods are executed. Data providers will not be included in test, since these are just returning array, and we did not write any test for the data providers. So only the test methods have been covered. So this is pretty much about testing with PHP unit, and I have mentioned all the commands that we need for executing test, for installing the dependency in the readme file. The configuration file is phpunit.xml file. And one more thing, like, about test suite, I can let you know. So you can also do like this, debug src test, uh, so just like this. We can do one more thing. uh, we can define, like, list suites. We can do like this. So list suites will be listing all the test suites we have in the PHP unit configuration. So there is only one my custom suite that we have defined. So it is listing that, and we can run the test cases by, like this, test suite, and we can pass the argument as a whatever suite we have defined, and then we can also supply coverage HTML build coverage report. And we can also pass debug argument as well. So as you can see, it did the same thing. but we can pass the test suite if we have multiple test suite, like multiple folders. We have only src folder. If we could have module 1, module 3, then we can define the test suite for module 1, module 2, module 3, and we can test the particular section. If only module 1 is completed, then we can pass test suite name module 1, and we can test only that functionality in the test case, or like that. So these are the way executing this. If you don't supply the debug tag, what will happen? Let me show you. If you don't supply the debug, it will not show all the steps what are the method executed. It will just display the dots, 12 dots, since 12 assertions are there, and that's all. But if you want what methods are executing, add the debug flag, and it will show that this method is test is started, ended, and all. And this is pretty much about PHP unit functional test cases with the code coverage and all. If you have any follow-up questions, you can always uh, reach out to me. uh, yeah, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe if you like our video. So I'll be creating a new video about PHP unit with mocking and all in upcoming videos. There we will be seeing like how in Magento 2 and advanced framework like Laravel, using the mocking, how can we test the external APIs or the complex integrations. Since the math class is a very basic example, but it will give an idea how PHP unit we can do easily, and how we can generate the code coverage as well. So thanks for watching, and do subscribe and like our video. And if you want to see more tutorials, and if you want to check out our products, always visit to our website, InfoGiants.com, link in description. And if you have any project or mobile application, web application, or any kind of software development requirement, you can always reach out to or contact us from InfoGiants, and I'm happy to assist you on that. So thanks for watching. Have a good